Okay, so let's dive into this feeling. You know the one. You decide, right, you're going to learn something new,
Mhm.
English maybe. You've got the ambition, you set the goals, maybe you even download the app. And then, then you get those Duolingo notifications, right? The little owl. And you just swipe them away instinctively. And instead of studying, you're suddenly hours deep into TikTok. Or maybe you write that perfect study plan, all color-coded, never gets open, does it? Sound familiar?
Oh, absolutely. It's a struggle so many people recognize.
Yeah.
The kind of internal fight, right?
Mhm.
Between the you that wants to learn the language,
Yes.
master the skill, and the you that your brain seems to, well, default to sometimes. The material you shared with us, it
Yeah.
really gets into that feeling being stuck, the guilt, but still resisting doing the thing.
Exactly. So that's what we're digging into today, this whole idea of being a, let's call it lazy but ambitious learner. And let's be clear, this isn't about saying you're actually lazy or lack motivation. It's more about understanding why learning can feel like such an uphill battle sometimes, and crucially, how you can work with your brain, not just constantly, fight against it.
Right. So our mission here, drawing from that discussion you brought us, is to unpack the kind of surprising biology behind why learning feels tough, and then explore some really practical science-backed strategies. Think of them less like strict study methods and more like, well, hacks. Hacks designed for a brain that, yeah, wants efficiency, but still has those big goals.
Okay, get ready then. We're going to pull back the curtain on what's really stopping you beyond just not feeling like it. And then we'll walk you through 6 specific strategies. Tested, lazy brain approved, you could say, but definitely designed for ambition. To make progress feel less like a chore, more like just flowing.
Let's start with just acknowledging how common this is. That feeling that maybe you're the only one struggling to start or to stick with something. You are definitely not alone.
Oh, the numbers really drive this home. The source material had this pretty startling statistic. 78% of language learners quit within the first 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah. Think about that. Nearly 8 out of 10 people, they start excited, then just drop off.
And see, that figure isn't really about people failing. It's more like evidence that maybe the way we traditionally try to learn isn't quite right for our biology. The discussion you shared explained this really well. It's not your brain being deliberately difficult. It's just efficient, hardwired, really, to find the easiest path. Maximum chill, minimum effort. That's the default setting.
Maximum chill. My brain is an expert at that.
Huh? Well, it's good at saving energy. And the material points to 3 specific reasons, biological, psychological, why learning feels hard. Almost like these built-in enemies that get in the way of our ambitious plans.
Okay, enemies of learning. Let's name them. Enemy number 1, glucose strain.
Right. So learning isn't just like mentally tiring. It's physically demanding for your brain. It literally burns more energy, more glucose than just passively watching TV or scrolling.
Hmm.
That's why you feel that real fatigue after trying to wrap your head around something complex, like your brain's just empty, and your brain reads that high energy use as effort, maybe even discomfort or pain, so it naturally tries to steer you away towards easier stuff.
That totally clicks. I can watch documentaries for hours. Fine. Ask me to conjugate verbs for 10 minutes. Suddenly need a nap. Okay, enemy number 2.
Focusing on the wrong words, specifically, getting bogged down with low-frequency vocabulary when you're starting out. The source material pointed out that, something like 95% of everyday conversation uses just the 3,000 most common words.
Right, but we often get hung up trying to memorize words like, what were the examples? Bucious or defenestration, things you'll probably never say.
Exactly. Wasting that brain energy, that glucose, on words you won't use is just inefficient. And it kills your motivation because you don't see results fast. You can't have a basic chat using defenestration. It feels like you're spinning your wheels.
Okay, mental note. Less obscure vocab, more where's the coffee?
Got it.
And the third enemy, this one sounds sneaky, the doom loop.
Ah, yes, the self-sabotage cycle. It goes like this. You skip something you plan to do, like studying. Then you feel guilty about skipping it. And because guilt feels bad and is also draining, your brain wants to avoid the source of the guilt,
Hmm.
which is the task itself. So what happens?
You skip it again.
Bingo, you skip it again.
The classic, I'll definitely start tomorrow, which becomes next week or
Oh,
never. The source mentioned someone called it Leo's Tuesday.
yeah, it's that loop where your brain kind of tricks you into inaction. It makes you feel bad, which makes you want to avoid it even more. A double whammy, really.
Okay, so if it's not that we're just fundamentally lazy, but our biology and these loops are kind of working against standard methods,
Mhm.
what's the escape route? How do we break free?
And this is the really crucial shift in thinking from the discussion. The core message is The problem isn't necessarily you, your intelligence, your drive. It could very well be the method you're using. Strategies that basically fight your brain's built-in preference for ease, like pushing a boulder uphill.
My methods are the problem, not me. Okay, I like the sound of that. Less blame.
Exactly. The insight is you don't need a personality transplant to become super disciplined overnight. You don't fight the laziness. You actually make it work for you. Instead of waiting to feel motivated, you design your environment, tweak your approach so your brain gets nudged into learning almost without noticing the effort.
So I can kind of engineer my own learning?
Yeah.
Use my strategic laziness to my advantage.
That's precisely it. It's about understanding those basics: neuroplasticity, how dopamine drives us, cognitive ease, and using them to build tiny habits that just grow. And we've pulled 6 specific strategies from the material designed for exactly this. Lazy brain approved, ambition still included. We'll count them down 6 to 1.
A countdown, nice. Keeps my efficiently managed attention span engaged.
Huh. Exactly. And strategy number 6 is so simple, it feels almost like cheating.
Okay, I'm ready. Lay it on me.
Strategy number 6, the 2-minute rule. This comes from behavioral science, particularly B.J. Fogg's work. His big insight was that the hardest part of doing something isn't usually the thing itself. It's just starting. So he found if you shrink a new habit down, make it something that takes just 2 minutes or less, you drastically lower that initial barrier, that activation energy, he calls it.
2 minute. My old study plans had like 2-hour blocks. 2 minutes sounds almost pointless, ridiculously easy.
That's the beauty of it. That's the hack. Your brain looks at open the app, read one sentence, and thinks, oh, okay, easy. No glucose drain here.
Yeah.
But here's the kicker. According to Fobb's research, about 80% of the time, once you've started that tiny 2-minute action, you just keep going, often for 10, 15 minutes, maybe longer.
Huh. So I tricked myself into starting by making the start feel like basically nothing.
You make the hurdle so low, your brain doesn't even register it as a threat to its chill state. Getting started is the hard part, so make getting started effortless. It's all about building momentum from almost zero perceived effort.
That's brilliantly sneaky. Okay, strategy number 5.
Strategy 5 is content immersion. This is about moving away from studying English in a formal sense, and more towards just living in the language through stuff you actually find interesting. Think movies, YouTube, music you like, podcasts, even memes, whatever's fun for you.
So less textbook drills, more binge watching.
Pretty much. The material reference studies, like from Washington University, showing our brains are wired to learn language way better in context than stories, conversations, things we actually care about. It's how we learned our first language, right? Like babies do.
So watching, say, Better Call Saul in English,
Yeah.
maybe with English subtitles, that actually counts. It's not just procrastination.
It absolutely counts. When you get words and phrases from real content you enjoy, they come wrapped in context and emotion. And that positive emotion, that little dopamine hit from being entertained, the source material highlighted that it acts like a save button in your brain, helps memory stick. Studies mentioned suggested learners could pick up something like 43% more vocabulary this way compared to just memorizing lists. And memory retention could jump 38% because of that dopamine boost.
My brain was working smarter when I was watching Netflix. I knew it.
Basically, yeah. The key is making learning feel like fun, not homework. Connect words to feelings, stories, not just definitions.
I can get behind that kind of studying, definitely. What's number 4?
Strategy 4, the 3-2-1 retrieval technique. This is a specific, easy way to use spaced repetition. It's a really powerful memory hack that works with how your brain naturally forgets things.
The forgetting curve, is that where stuff just falls out of my head almost immediately?
Kinda, yeah. Your brain ditches new info pretty fast, unless it gets signals that it's important. Spaced repetition means you review stuff at specific, increasing intervals right when your brain is about to forget it. This tells your brain, hey, keep this, and strengthens the memory. The 3-2-1 method is just a simple schedule for that. Review new stuff after about 3 hours, then again after 2 days, and one more time after 1 week.
Ah, okay. So instead of cramming and forgetting, it's short reviews, spaced out.
Exactly. And the research cited suggests it boosts retention massively from maybe 20% recall to 80% or more, and often it takes less total study time because each review is quick and you're hitting it at the optimal point for your memory.
But how do I remember to do the reviews? That's the lazy brain trap.
Use your tech. Set phone reminders. Send yourself a text note. Or the source had this funny image. You could literally whisper a word, like sandwich, into a voice note and set reminders to listen to it 3 times that week.
Whispering sandwich into my phone. Okay, that is peak lazy ambition. Sign me up.
The mantra is simple. Say it, space it, slay it.
Say it, space it, Slay it. Love it. Okay, number 3.
Strategy 3, language bridging. This one's about stopping that constant translation happening in your head.
Yeah.
You know, the thing that slows you down?
Oh, yes. That little voice translating everything back to my native language first. It's exhausting and makes me sound slow.
That's called language interference. It adds mental load and lag time. Language bridging is about training your brain to connect English words or phrases directly to the meaning or concept. Skip the middleman.
So instead of dog, it means my word for dog, which looks like that furry thing. Just dog connects straight to the furry thing.
Exactly. Or use English to English dictionaries. Learn whole phrases as chunks of meaning. So instead of translating, I am experiencing hunger, you learn, I'm starving, as a direct concept for intense hunger, or let's grab something to eat as the whole idea of getting food together.
Right, so my brain just flows from English word to idea, no pause to translate.
It cuts out that processing step. The material mentioned, this could speed things up mentally by like 70%. Helps
Yeah.
you respond faster, sound way more natural because you're actually thinking in English.
Okay, that feels like unlocking a new level. Big one. 2 strategies left. Number 2.
Strategy 2, the social stake method. Basically, using a bit of positive social pressure to your advantage.
Like telling everyone on Instagram I'm going to study for an hour every day, so I feel bad if I don't.
Exactly that kind of thing. The source cited studies showing that making a public commitment can boost your follow-through rate dramatically, like by 76%. Because, you don't want to let people down. And honestly, nobody wants to look flaky after announcing big plans.
Yeah, the fear of someone commenting, hey, how's that daily English practice going, is surprisingly motivating. It's my dignity on the line.
Totally. Or find a study buddy. Join a group. Make little bets with friends, like you buy them coffee if you skip a session. The source even mentioned treating someone to McDonald's as a penalty. It creates shared responsibility, turns it into a bit of a game or a dare. It's using that human need for connection and accountability productively. Peer pressure for good.
Social dare for brain games. I like it.
Thank you.
All right, the grand finale. Strategy number 1.
Strategy number 1, the 80-20 language focus. This one is maybe the ultimate efficiency hack. It's all about working smart.
The Pareto principle for language. Learn the vital few things.
Precisely. The idea, backed by linguistic analysis, think tools like the Oxford 3000 list or COA, that big database of real English, is that you only need to really know the most common 600 to 1,000 words and phrases to understand and handle something like 80% of everyday conversations.
Wait, really? Focus on just 20% of the language, get 80% of the way there. That feels like a cheat code.
It kind of is. You don't need the whole dictionary for conversation. You need the right stuff. Focus on words you'll actually use daily. Greetings, food, directions, work talk, feelings, practical phrases like, where's the bathroom? I need coffee and the Wi-Fi password. The source mentioned common phrases too, like make a mistake, catch a cold. The essentials.
And how do I find these magic 600, 1,000 words without just randomly guessing?
You can start with those frequency lists, like Oxford 3000. But then, crucially, tailor it to you. Group the vocabulary by themes that matter to your life: work, travel, hobbies, dating, even internet memes if that's your thing. Makes it stickier.
Faster results, less wasted brain power, sound more natural.
Yeah, my brain likes the sound of this efficiency.
It's the fast track to actually communicating. Focus on the high-impact words, not every single word. Wow. Okay. So 6 strategies, all science-backed, all pulled from the source material you shared, designed to hack that inner, lazy, but ambitious learner. From the tiny 2-minute start to the super-focused 80-20 rule, it really boils down to stopping the fight, right? Working with your brain's preference for ease instead of forcing methods that feel awful. The discussion even had that funny anecdote of someone can learn this after trying to microwave ice cream. Well, anyone can figure out a smarter way.
Huh. Yeah, a perfect illustration that brute force isn't always the answer.
Okay, before we finish this deep dive, let's quickly lock in some of those key vocabulary words from the source. Good practice, spaced repetition, right?
Excellent idea. Let's start with glucose.
Glucose, that's a noun. It's that type of sugar our bodies, and especially our brains, use for fuel. Example, after that intense study session, my brain felt totally wiped, like it burned through all its glucose.
Good one. Next. Doom loop.
Doom loop, also a noun. That negative cycle where skipping something makes you feel guilty, and the guilt makes you avoid the task even more. Example, I missed my language practice, felt bad, then avoided it the next day because of the guilt. Classic doom loop.
About immersion.
Immersion, noun again. Being totally surrounded by something, like the language you're learning, so you pick it up naturally through context. Example, Watching English TV shows every evening was great immersion. I learned so many phrases without even trying.
Okay, and
Motivation.
Motivation. Noun. The reason or feeling that makes you want to do something. Example. My biggest motivation for learning English is wanting to travel and chat easily with people.
perfect. And lastly, spaced repetition.
Spaced repetition. Noun. That learning technique where you review information at increasing time intervals to beat the forgetting curve and make memory stronger. Example. I use spaced repetition flashcards instead of cramming reviewing words over days and weeks, and they actually stuck.
Great recap. Those terms really capture the core ideas. Now, just to reinforce, let's hit those 2 review questions from the material quickly.
All right, question 1. Why does our brains sometimes resist learning, even when we're motivated?
Basically, because learning takes significant energy, it uses glucose. The brain sees this as effort, maybe even pain, and defaults to easier, less energy-hungry activities, conserving resources.
Makes sense. And question 2. Why is immersion often seen as better than just memorizing vocabulary lists?
Because immersion gives you context and hooks into your emotions. Learning words within engaging stories or conversations helps your brain encode them much better. It's just a more brain-friendly, science-approved way to learn.
Excellent summary.
So if you stuck with us through all this, congrats. You've just invested time learning how to learn smarter, proving you're not lazy, you're just strategically efficient.
Yeah, the big takeaway here really is that progress, even if you feel that pull towards ease sometimes, comes from working smarter, not just trying to suffer through harder methods. With the right hacks, the ones that align with your brain, anyone can move forward.
So here's your mission, if you choose to accept it after this deep dive. Pick one, just one hack from the 6 we talked about, and actually try it today. Maybe it's the 2-minute rule with your language app. Just open it. That's it. Maybe you watch one episode of something in English without subtitles, embrace that immersion. Or maybe you just give yourself permission to binge some English YouTube videos guilt-free, knowing it's actually science-approved learning.
Just one small thing. Make it easy. See where it leads. And maybe a final thought to chew on as you go about your day. Real efficiency, maybe real genius, isn't always about forcing discipline against your nature. Sometimes it's about really understanding your own tendencies. Yeah, even the lazy ones, and designing your life to leverage them, using them for your goals, not against them. Where else could you apply that kind of lazy genius thinking in your life?
Food for thought. Until next time, keep learning like the smart, efficient being you are.
We'll see you next time.